And we're on.
Awesome. Logan?
Yeah.
Okay. They dropped out for a second.
No, but we're live right here on Future Entertainment, Future Wrestling Podcast. This is the Morning OJ with Logan Myers. Of course, I'm your host, Logan Myers, and my co-host for this show is OJ. Welcome, OJ.
Hello, Logan. Thank you for having me on.
How are you doing this morning, sir? And where can they check you out on your social medias and all that good stuff?
You can check me out on Twitter at OJ the Juice. That is OJ, uppercase O, uppercase J, duh as in DA, and Juice as uppercase J, EWCE.
Thank you, sir, and this is our very first show together, so let's get this started. I'm really excited to finally do a show with you. We've been trying for so long.
It's taken a while, but we're finally on the air. Finally on the air, coming to you live and freshly squeezed. Take that as you will.
Okay. So, OJ, I'm gonna let you get started. Any questions you have for me, and then I'll give you a couple questions as well. We'll go with that. How about that?
Sounds good. Well, I just woke up this morning to see the news that Rey Mysterio is going to be on the ESPN The Body issue. Have you seen this yet?
No, I did not, actually.
Yes, Rey Mysterio is going to be naked for ESPN The Magazine. And it's ruining my childhood, man. Yeah, he's going to be naked, except for the mask.
That... Well, then he's not naked.
Well, not completely, but otherwise, yeah.
Jeez.
Nope, they're showing everything. Well, except for the dongle, I think.
I don't even wanna.
You don't even want to look it up?
Nope.
Well, he's doing the 619 in one of the poses, man.
Oh my.
Yeah, completely butt-ass naked. It's like, you know, out of everybody, like, from my childhood that I didn't want to see naked, like, Rey Mysterio's right up there with them.
Trish Stratus is fine, but damn.
Yeah, I know, Rey Mysterio, right?
Why? No. So this is the very first subject we're going to talk about on the Morning OJ with Logan Myers.
This is how we're starting off the Morning OJ. You gotta get right into it. You gotta get your a good wake-up story.
You had me at naked. I just don't even want to comment after that. No, well, that's good for him. Good for him, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting paid.
Getting paid to do a lot of good stuff, for some people, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to spin this in the most positive way, and I just can't see how I'm doing it, but...
No, it's like, you know, this year with the Royal Rumbles he was in, I popped, I was excited to see him, and, you know, this has just killed the last bit of my innocence. The last bit of my childhood.
Yeah, that's done ruined it for me. I don't know.
And I think he's wearing different masks too in all the pictures. Which is like, man, costume change.
What would you do for a Klondike bar? Yep. See, I guess that's what he would do for a Klondike bar.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not one of them Snicker videos on, you know, commercials where, like, he's just butt-ass naked and...
You're not yourself when you're hungry?
Yeah, his son just gives him a Snickers.
The thing I find interesting is that it's being done in 2018. I mean, Not to say that Ray is irrelevant, but
or old,
it's
or
or been suspended for steroids in the past.
Good point.
I'm right about that, right? I believe he was suspended for some roids back in the day.
Maybe once.
Right. So it's
he's not Randy Orton on that. Okay.
No.
I don't think anybody is Randy Orton on that one.
No, but it's still basically. I mean, that'd be like having Barry Bonds on there now. You know what I mean? It's like, look at this natural body. No added Mexican supplements.
Exactly. No,
Logan,
I agree.
Do you have any questions for me?
Actually, I do, and it's a whole segment because we are going to start the show off. Well, our second segment of the night. Well, morning. See, I'm not used to
morning.
This. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Whoever is listening. We're going to start off with the hot seat segment, of course. Let's start the show off with the hottest segment on Future Wrestling Podcast. First question. Okay, we're going to be talking about the 5 worst pay-per-views and the best pay-per-views, correct?
Well, let me explain this. I went with the top 5 overrated and the top 5 underrated pay-per-views.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily mean that by overrated that they're bad, necessarily, but that they get more praise than they deserve, in my opinion. And then with underrated, they don't get as much praise as I feel they should. And for my lists, I specifically left out WrestleMania because I feel like that's kind of a category unto itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even though I have WrestleMania 6 on that list for some reason.
That's fine. That's not a problem. You said you went with the worst and the best?
Yeah, because I kind of view it that way. But I see what your point is on like the overrated and underrated.
I feel you.
Because
so
there's some bad, and then there's some okay. You thought that was good, but okay. That you can think that.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to respect our opinions, but well, let me ask you a question for the hot seat segment real quick. What was the worst WWE pay-per-view match of all time? I always wanted to see what you thought.
Steven Richards versus Tyson Tomko from, I think, Unforgiven 2004? It was just a mess. Steven Richards came out in a dress. No, I don't remember why, but I just remember watching it and thinking it was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Yeah, it went 6 minutes, 24 seconds. It was bad.
The question for me is not why he was wearing a dress, it's why you remembered he was wearing a dress.
Oh, it was one of those things where it was,
yeah.
It was such a mess that you're kind of like, there's no, like, I wish I didn't see it because now I'm going to remember it for the rest of my life.
I'm starting to remember that. I'm starting to get these, like, flashbacks.
I mean, I'm sure if I sat down, I could probably break down some other matches that were really bad, but off the top of my head, yeah, that's the match that comes to mind.
Sounds like a pretty bad one.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even a Sunday Night Heat segment, you know?
No, it's not.
So,
the worst match, Matt
say,
Hardy versus Brock Lesnar.
Matt Hardy versus, was that the one that was stopped?
Yeah, it was.
Or was that Jeff? I don't remember.
I think both of them was. Honestly.
Yeah. You know, I forgot recently that Brock Lesnar, around that time when he won the title, him and Paul Heyman had a handicap main event against Edge at a UK pay-per-view for the belt.
Wow. Great.
Yeah, weird, right? Weird, right?
Wow.
And that was before Rated R. That was before Rated R Superstar. So Edge was kind of just a floating mid-carder at that point.
Was this before or after his tag team with Rey Mysterio for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions?
I think it was during that time, actually. I think he might have either won the belts with him like a month later or a month before. Yeah.
I was gonna say something hilarious, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't want people thinking I watched it. I never watched it, but the worst match ever is Chyna's sex tape with all them fake wrestlers.
Oh my god.
Gotta make somebody laugh here.
Jesus. You know, I always said that about Hogan's sex tape. As wondering, you know, he doesn't put anybody over, you know.
Never does. He's always got to be on top.
Oh. I wonder if before he was done, he was calling to the crowd, cupping his ears, seeing who wanted it.
Wonder whose shirt he ripped that night. I'm terrible. All right, so
all this naked talk, man.
I know. All right, well, for the second question, I was gonna ask you the best WWE pay-per-view match of all time, but I'm gonna actually ask you what's the most underrated WWE pay-per-view match of all time.
The most underrated. So many to choose from.
I know there's a lot.
Maybe Jericho and Shawn, their ladder match that they had in the late 2000s.
Yes, that is one of the most underrated matches of all time. Was Cesaro versus William Regal a NXT pay-per-view match?
I don't remember.
I think there was, but it was a very underrated match.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially for people like that European style. I'm gonna have to go check that out. I didn't know that was a thing. In NXT?
Yeah.
That seems kind of strange. Unless I don't know. That seems really weird.
Honestly, I have to say, for the next question, who is the most underrated WWE wrestler of all time? And I'm gonna put William Regal in that category.
Well, my joke answer would be the Great Khali.
Oh, jeez.
Because let me tell you, man, look, the fact that he was so undertrained and only killed one person ever in the ring.
Oh, here we go.
Pretty impressive.
Let me get my whiskey.
Hey, you gotta add it to the OJ.
Yep, definitely had to add it to the OJ.
The most underrated.
Oh, he's a great Kelly.
It's probably Cesaro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe underutilized.
Cesaro's in that category as Vince, you fucked up. You fucked up.
Yeah.
The only thing Vince McMahon is right about Cesaro is the mic skills.
Yeah?
He isn't the greatest, but he isn't the worst that we've heard from the Raceman.
He's not. And when he became a Paul Heyman guy a few years ago, I mean, that got a huge reaction.
Should have kept that going. I think it would have. I mean, I don't know about Curtis Axel back in the day, but but Cesaro, yeah, I would say he was definitely a Paul Heyman guy.
Yeah, he was an archetype for that giant push that they were looking for with Ryback and Curtis Axel and guys like that. It's like, okay, you want Paul Heyman to help these guys, but what about this actual talent? I mean, I think Kevin Owens has my favorite description of Cesaro is, that guy's a freaking horse. He really is.
Kevin Owens is so good, he can make Shania Twain fucking relevant in 2018.
Yeah, that's true.
So, hey. I don't want to say he's underrated, because he's definitely not. And he's not overrated by any means. But probably one of the best wrestlers and performers and actors in WWE. And I said actors for
Actors.
one. Because he's so good at what he's doing is Braun Strowman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, he's this nice, friendly guy, and then he can just hit that switch and just... He basically does a Christian and hits the switch.
And he becomes a completely believable monster.
And it works. And that's one thing that...
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am 100% excited to see him finally get that belt off Brock. I mean, I think that's the inevitable.
It is.
Especially with this Money in the Bank win, and, you know, whatever, Brock's contract, Brock leaving, whatever. I mean, I was going to be an unpopular opinion, but I would not mind seeing, and I know it's not going to happen, but I would not mind seeing Roman versus Braun again, but you have Roman as, you have Roman as the heel, you have Braun as the babyface, and you pretty much, you do what you did last summer, where you have Roman basically willing to murder a man to get what he wants.
Sounds pretty good, actually. I didn't mind their feud. I think it went a little too far, like too long, just a little bit. But hey, we've seen feuds last a year, so...
Yeah, like with the Sasha and Bayley thing.
Well, I can't say that's like I wouldn't say a year, because it's only slowly building.
6 months?
Maybe,
7 months?
Maybe
yeah,
that. But
there's
still
a point, way
too long.
But there's a point to where it's like they start to lose steam. It's like that's why AJ versus Nakamura, I'm relieved that it's over. That they got, to the point where it's like, alright, finally there's a payoff. Finally something happened. It's not just a repeat.
Can I say Seth Rollins is underrated?
I don't know.
The only reason I say it is because everybody criticized his mic skills when he was a heel and was champion. And then all of a sudden, the last couple months, he's just on a whole nother level.
Yeah, unquestionably. He's one of the best. And I think as of right now, well, he doesn't have that IC anymore, but he's where he probably should be, which is putting on great matches, getting a push. Hopefully in that world title picture within the next couple months.
Yes. That's what I want to see as well.
So I don't know if I would say underrated. I would say maybe underutilized a little bit, but I think Cesaro is like a much more clear case of what the hell are you doing with this guy.
Actually, we can say that about his tag team partner too, Sheamus.
Yeah, you think so?
Right now, yeah, I think Sheamus has become pretty popular as well. I mean, I know it's the same thing when you talk about Sheamus every time. It's like the same stick. I get that. I understand that. But I think he's kind of resurrected his career just a tad bit since joining Cesaro as a tag team.
I agree with that. I think it definitely endeared him to the fans more after the "you look stupid" chants a few years ago.
Oh, that's still going on.
Well, I wouldn't say it's as prevalent as it was when he was, he was coming out with his beard being all tied up and shit.
Wow.
Nose ring and, whatever the hell. But
Looking like Batista.
The thing is, yeah, I think no, I think where he's at is perfect for him. Like he needs Cesaro, I think, more than Cesaro needs him.
Yeah, agreed. But Sheamus, though, I think is one of the most underrated guys in the business. And the only reason I say this is because, he is dealing with that injury to his spine, which could paralyze him like Edge. He's actually going through the same issue as Edge did with his neck, and he's still wrestling.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Sheamus actually, I read a couple months ago that he's been dealing with a neck issue, and it's causing, he needs to have surgery on it, but he won't go have the surgery because he says, right now, I want to wrestle, and if I have the surgery, I have to retire. So I read that, and I was like, dang, like, Sheamus, never expected that.
Man, now I feel terrible.
Yeah, he's been dealing with it for over a year now, since he's joined Cesaro as a tag team. And I think that's why they wanted to put him in a tag team, so he's not, having to do a lot of big spots, but he's still doing them, and I'm like, how is this guy doing it? How?
Yeah. And that's the other thing, too, man, is, with Sheamus and Cesaro, I'm excited to see them whenever they're in matches.
Yeah, they haven't been around, too, ever since they joined SmackDown.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kills me. I mean, they did that thing with the New Day where they attacked them, and,
to be honest with you, I wanted Cesaro and Sheamus to stay on Raw, be a face, and feud with Authors of Pain, because that's the only freaking tag team right now that I can legitimately put them in that class to beat Authors of Pain.
Right. Yeah, but
what other tag team can do that on Raw? Rhino and Heath Slater?
Breezango. No, you're right. No other teams right now. Who are the Raw tag team champions?
The only other tag teams is
yeah, but who are the champions?
Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
That's right, yeah. Jesus, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, but the other thing too is, it's kind of hard since they're both heel teams. But Sheamus and Cesaro are two guys who I think could believably get the belts off the Bludgeon Brothers at some point.
True.
And I understand your sentiment where it's like, it's kind of hard, when there's no other credible tag teams on Raw. But has AOP even been on Raw since their quote-unquote debut?
They were just on Raw the other night.
Okay.
Beat the hell out of jobbers, and then, who else? Who came out? It was... it's bad when Titus O'Neil and, that's how relevant they are. Can't even remember the name. Titus O'Neil and
Apollo Crews?
Apollo Crews. Right. Yeah. I don't mean to forget his name, but come on, when's he ever on TV? And they always change his name now.
Do they?
Yeah, he went from Apollo Crews to Apollo, back to Apollo Crews.
Jesus. See, that was the thing too. Because I was trying to remember what his work name was, and I was like, well, they're all work names, but I was like, it's Uhaa Nation, but what is his WWE name?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly true. Alright, I guess we could start this show off with the top 5 overrated pay-per-views of all time.
Alright, you want to start with overrated?
That's what you want to do. This is your show, sir. It's the Morning OJ.
Yeah, but I like having you as my host. My co-host. Alright. Well, we'll start it off. I'll start with my number 5. Night of Champions 2015. Now, the reason I say this was overrated is because it is Sting's sole WWE main event. Now, the show did really well business-wise. It did 77,000 pay-per-view buys in the year 2015. Now, this is during the network era. So, that meant that there was close to 100,000 people who wanted to basically see Sting. And were willing to pay, the whatever, $59.99 to see him. They could have got the network, but they went ahead and bought the pay-per-view. Overall, the show, the match quality, it's okay. Seth Rollins, God bless the guy, because he went 30 straight minutes. If you remember, he had that great match with John Cena on the pay-per-view, and then went right to Sting. Yeah. This ended up being Sting's last match. And he got hurt. I believe it was a roll-up. I believe it was a roll-up victory that Rollins got. And then in the end, Kane came out. So Rollins gets through Cena, gets through Sting, and then they try to. This was all to put Kane over. So it was kind of wonky booking. Another problem with it was the Ziggler and Rusev match. Not for the match itself, but the whole booking at the time of Lana was leaving Rusev. Summer Rae was with Rusev. It was just goofy. Yeah, overall, I didn't think this was. Sting deserved better, basically, as like a going out.
Yeah, he did. Most definitely did. It's actually one of the pay-per-views on my list, but it's at another number.
All right. So okay. So my list is overrated. And yours is worst, right?
Well, I'm gonna change it to overrated because I think it's.
Looking
at the list, it's actually overrated pay-per-views.
Okay. So you wouldn't say that your pay-per-views are necessarily terrible, but they either underwhelm or.
Yeah, like there's a couple of them on here is really bad, like the worst pay-per-view ever, and then there's some that's like, okay, it could have been good, but you fucked up.
Yeah.
Like my number 5 being the worst pay-per-view of all time, Backlash 2018.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I don't think that gets enough negative reception.
I was about to say, is he going to say it positive? Something positive? I mean, you can say it was overrated because I actually was hyped about Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe, and look what happened. But it wasn't really the guys' fault. Those guys traveled so many hours and all that within a span of like 3-4 weeks during that time. So it's not technically their fault that they were just exhausted. You know what I mean?
But not only that, most of the night was just, once again, it was just rest holds.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the Carmella and Charlotte match, I hate with a vicious passion that match. Because Carmella just beats up Charlotte with ground-based offense. And then on Charlotte's comeback, she gets hurt and gets rolled up. So it's like, so Carmella can beat the best women's wrestler in the company. It made no sense.
It still doesn't make sense to this day. It hasn't been that long ago, but sadly, I'm not a Carmella fan.
I'm not either. I think it's completely absurd that she beat Charlotte and Asuka relatively clean, but I think that it's going to. See, the thing is she's not a great heel, but it's going to be satisfying when somebody finally takes that belt off of her.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like, oh, finally, she lost the title. She's had a good run at it. It's gonna be, for fuck's sake, thank God.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story, because, about a month ago, yeah, at this point, my girl went to SmackDown taping up in, or taping. It's live now, what am I saying? She went to a show, SmackDown, in Worcester, Massachusetts, and Carmella is from Worcester, and all they did was a taped segment for her, and that they showed on the Jumbotron, and I guess people were yelling, "Welcome home," blah blah blah, and yeah, she never came out that night. It's like, hometown women's champion,
and you don't have her come out live.
And now I can understand, because they probably didn't want a positive reaction from the crowd.
I get that. I get that.
But come on now, it was like the timing was too perfect to let that go. But I just thought
she could have got more heel heat from just trashing her own hometown.
Yeah, right. But of course they bill her from Long Island or Brooklyn or whatever. So
that's well, May.
Anyways, go on to the next one. Unless you have anything else to say about Backlash 2018.
It was terrible.
It is god awful.
I'd rather scratch my fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too was, the way that they were hyping up Backlash was, oh, these pay-per-views are going to be better because it's now co-branded.
Yeah, about that.
And yeah, and it was like, why do I pay $9.99 a month if I'm going to get shit on a shingle? I like all the old content, but honestly, if that wasn't on there, like it was a few years ago, because a few years ago, it was drip feed. They didn't have a lot of stuff on there. But now that they do, now I'm like, oh, okay, I'll pay $9.99 a month for the network. But then I watch these pay-per-views and I'm like, if this was all I was paying for, I would have canceled years ago.
Exactly. One thing that everybody's happy though. A lot of people are happy that SmackDown Raw is going to be co-branded on the pay-per-views. I understand that. I think it definitely helps since Brock Lesnar's not on TV. But then again, you have your Raw feuds, you have your SmackDown feuds when it's a separate pay-per-view. That's the only thing I think that's the only thing that's going to hurt the pay-per-view and the brands, is if you're going to focus on certain feuds from SmackDown and Raw to put it on the same show, then there's going to be a lot of talent that's not going to be used, like the Usos, Cesaro, Sheamus, and a lot of guys on Raw. Their main focus is going to be on Finn Balor's and Seth Rollins and stuff like that.
Yeah, but even Finn was left off of that show.
Exactly. So it's like, why is it doing that? Why are we... That's the only thing that I just think's negative about it.
Yeah. Alright, so at number 4, I put the Royal Rumble 2000.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yeah. I don't think it's a terrible show. But I think in terms of a Royal Rumble, they gimmicked it up way too much. It's a jobber Rumble. I mean, if you go through the list, there's nobody that believably at the time could have won it except for The Rock or Big Show. I know that there was the moment with Too Cool where they all started dancing, and yeah, it's a wonderful moment, but at the end of the day, there's no real suspense to it. There's no real, okay, who's gonna win? And I think that's one of the problems that WWE has today with the Royal Rumble, where they make it too obvious at times. Triple H versus Mick Foley was a good match. they threw in Hardcore Holly in a triple threat with Chris Jericho and China. I remember at the time that they were co-holders of the IC belt, China and Chris Jericho. Decent. And Taz made his debut, and he beat Kurt Angle in 3 minutes. And my problem with it is, look how that turned out.
I know. It was the other way around. That's what should happened.
Exactly.
I get your point. I do. I understand why.
And once again, I'm not saying that it's a terrible show or anything, but I think in terms of like
overhyped.
Yeah, like the Rumble's memorable for its little spots. Not for oh my god, it's not like Austin when he got beat up that next year and he had to come back to the ring all beaten and bloody, and Kane eliminated 12 people. It's kind of like, oh, The Rock won. Well, no shit. What are you gonna do when D'Lo Brown and Grandmaster Sexay are in the match?
You have a fair point on that one. You really do.
Logan, what is your number 4? I want to hear from you.
Hell in a Cell 2009.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Oh boy. Okay. I need to hear this.
Please don't tell me that it's on one of your lists.
It's on one of my lists.
Oh, so please tell me we're gonna argue or disargue.
I don't know. Let's see. I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, first and foremost, I think it was overhyped a little bit. Besides the theme song, and besides one match maybe. We had, for example, the only match that I can say that was not overrated was Undertaker and CM Punk inside the Hell in a Cell. But like matches like Matt Hardy defeating Mike Knox in 6 minutes. We had the WWE Divas champion Mickie James defeating Alicia Fox. We had Jericho versus Batista and Mysterio. Orton and Cena. Drew McIntyre and R-Truth. And then the last match of the night was D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels, Triple H defeating the Legacies, Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. I think it was overhyped. I think it was definitely overhyped. There was only 2 good matches, in my opinion. And it was one Hell in a Cell. It was 2 Hell in a Cell matches, and Orton and Cena was not even that good.
Well, guess we'll go with it because I had that was on my underrated. That was number 5.
Oh, jeez.
I honestly, the funny thing is I remember at the time worrying that this show there was going to be too much, like 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Like, it's a little much, but I think that the show was pretty well paced. I appreciate the culmination of Taker and CM Punk, especially after the really shitty finish from the month before, where they did the Montreal screw job at Breaking Point. They screwed the Undertaker, if you remember.
Yeah.
Ziggler versus Morrison, I thought that was a pretty good match. Mickie James versus Alicia Fox, it is what it is. Chris Jericho and Batista, or Chris Jericho and Big Show versus Batista and Rey Mysterio. It was not a bad tag team match, and it really started the dissension between Rey and Batista. And the next month, Batista turned into a heel, which was some of his best work. So I think that it was a sign of good things to come. Cena versus Orton. I mean, they had done it to hell. No pun intended, but pun intended. They'd done it to hell at that point. It is what it is. Drew McIntyre was fresh at the time. He was doing the Chosen One gimmick. Didn't turn out so well, but beating R-Truth on pay-per-view, not bad. Kofi, Swagger, and Miz, decent triple threat match. Miz, I believe, won it the next night on Raw to set up his feud with John Morrison. And then DX versus Legacy, for a tag team Hell in a Cell, I really enjoyed it. I liked the storytelling with Legacy locking Triple H out of the cell and beating the shit out of Shawn Michaels. Could the Legacy have gone over to help them a little bit? Yeah, but overall, and the thing is like I said, with the spread, they spread out the Hell in a Cell matches. And I think the pacing really worked. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to burn down the world, and it's not one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. But I think for what ended up becoming one of my favorite pay-per-view, I guess, yearly pay-per-views, I don't think it was a bad start. I don't think it was a bad debut.
I guess it was overhyped because I thought Legacy would go over.
That's it.
And I just, like I said, Undertaker and CM Punk was basically the only match that I liked besides the tag team Hell in a Cell. It was the only match the only two matches I liked. And I thought Orton and Cena would actually be okay in the Hell in a Cell, and it just didn't turn out, I think, it was like more weapons involved more than the Hell in a Cell.
See, the thing is, I felt that they definitely evened out, like, the cell matches, which was definitely a concern, where it's like Taker and Punk was more using the cell as the weapon. Orton and Cena was more using weapons, which was more, they primarily used the steel stairs. And then Legacy versus DX was pretty much a combination of both. So they kind of told different stories in all three matches.
I can agree with that.
But I understand. The thing is like, as a kid, I would have thought it would have been the coolest thing ever if they had a match full, or a pay-per-view full of Hell in a Cell matches. But kind of looking at it from a booking perspective, this could have been like a lot worse. Like, could you imagine if they just had like 3 straight Hell in a Cells?
So true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So I feel you though. I feel you that it's a little it could be looked at, because the other thing too is it's kind of hard to do Hell in a Cell, especially during that time. I guess now too, but during the PG era, it's kind of it's kind of hard to tell a vicious match. But for what it was, I think it was okay.
Yeah, I see your point. I see your point on that. Alright, so what is your next one?
Number 3 is Tables, Ladders, and Chairs 2011. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually love this pay-per-view. I absolutely love it. But I feel that it's overrated because it was Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. Let me explain to you why. It's literally, it's like the internet booked this pay-per-view. This was during the time, let's go through the match card. Zack Ryder defeated Dolph Ziggler. He finally won the US belt. This was after the Long Island Ice Z, all the exposure he was getting on YouTube. He got the belt. Air Boom won. Orton beat Barrett. Let's see. Beth Phoenix defeated Kelly Kelly. Triple H beat Kevin Nash in a sledgehammer ladder match. I remember that being nonsensical. that was during the whole time where Triple H was screwing around with CM Punk, but Kevin Nash was too. And that it was what it was. Big Show beat Mark Henry in a chairs match, and then Daniel Bryan cashed in his Money in the Bank, winning his first world title. And then just screaming at Michael Cole. Cody Rhodes beat Booker T, and CM Punk beat Del Rio and Miz in a TLC match. Now, the reason I think this is overrated is because why wasn't this done at one of their major pay-per-views? It's not a bad match card. Now, none of the matches I really felt kicked into third gear, but it felt like they didn't want to. They used their booking that would please the fans on a pay-per-view that not a lot of people saw.
See, my thing is, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was gonna keep this secret the whole time, but number 3 was actually this pay-per-view.
Really? What do you mean, on a favorite?
No, overrated.
TLC was.
Yes, this was actually on my list.
That's hilarious.
And the reasons why is because of the timing of the matches. There's only a couple good matches that wasn't so bad, which Drew McIntyre, Alex Riley, that was only 4 minutes. Air Boom versus Primo and Epico. You know my feelings on those two, so that's 7 minutes. Orton, Wade Barrett, tables match, that's okay. That's actually not a bad match on paper or anything. Especially, I think, wasn't that the time where Wade Barrett was starting to become his own singles star a little bit.
Yeah, that was after the core thing.
The Divas Championship match, 5 minutes. Sheamus Swagger, 5 minutes. 5 minutes for Big Show and Mark Henry. Cody Rhodes and Booker T was actually not bad. I think that was Booker T's very first match returning to the ring, and it was actually not a bad feud in my opinion. 9 minutes. Let me be honest with you. Looking at the promotional poster featuring CM Punk and the Ice Cream Bar, the Ice Cream Bar is more over than the whole card. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? It was over during that time. Because that's what everybody was focused on, was ice cream bars. Bring them back. It wasn't about the talent that was involved in the card itself. That's a little sad.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we disagree with it or maybe we think it's overrated for different reasons.
And then that's good. That's a great thing, though.
I think another thing, too, is the way that it turned out. Like, they didn't really give Daniel Bryan a good run with that belt. No. Zack Ryder got murdered by Kane a few months later.
Yeah.
The Kevin Nash Triple H thing. I mean, I think that was Nash's last match, and I don't think Triple H really did much after that, other than like the Taker matches.
Yeah.
So it's in that match. I mean, the fact that it lasted like almost 20 minutes. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, Kevin Nash match lasting more than 30 seconds after the quad. Yeah.
Kevin Nash in a ladder match. Come on now. That's not acceptable.
That's unacceptable. It could have just made it a damn sledgehammer match. That's it. They didn't need a ladder.
Why? Yeah. Why wasn't that a tables match or a chair match? And that was the thing. It's the ending. The ending with Kevin Nash cowering underneath Triple H, and he's like, "No, Hunter, we're buddies." And he did the too sweet symbol as Triple H has the sledgehammer, and Triple H does the DX suck it. It's like, I get it. You guys were in the clique together.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple good things you can say about this card. and the matches that happen. But then again, there's some things you question. There's always something you question anytime in wrestling and WWE. So, Drew McIntyre, Alex Riley. I mean that.
I think that might have been a dark match though.
I don't know. It on here it says it was actually on the main card, so I honestly can't remember if it was.
Really? That's not good.
Yeah, that was what opened up the show at that. So that's even worse.
Oh, see, it says dark. Yeah, it says a dark match here.
Okay.
It says a dark match on Wiki.
Well,
Unless they're lying to me and it was on there and they just want to forget. But no, I mean, this, I don't think this was a terrible pay-per-view, but I think this could, I mean, honestly, matches like Booker T's return and Triple H and Nash for what it is, I mean, they're two names. They kind of wasted it all on a TLC pay-per-view that nobody bought.
Yeah, Alberto Del Rio at the time was viewed as the next Rey Mysterio. You had CM Punk, who was the most over guy in the company, and then The Miz, who was starting to get his groove as well.
Oh yeah, he was, I mean, the guy was world champion
a couple months later.
Well, The Miz, no, he was world champion months before that.
Oh, okay. Was it 2010?
2011? 2010 or 2011? I mean, he went over John Cena that year at WrestleMania.
Okay.
So, and that was just after the Awesome Truth angle. So. But anyways,
well.
so that's good. We both got number 3 out of the way. All right, so this next one's going to infuriate the world. I have Money in the Bank 2011 as my number 2.
Wow.
For most overrated.
Was
all right. Let me just pull up the match card really quick. So
I'm kind of curious now.
Yes. So, the Money in the Bank ladder matches were very good. Especially the Raw one, where the finish was Rey Mysterio and Del Rio were going for the briefcase. Del Rio pulls the mask off Rey Mysterio. Mysterio hides his face. Del Rio gets the briefcase. For me, that was the highlight of the night. Kelly versus Brie Bella was on this card. Terrible.
In 4 minutes and 54 seconds.
And then right after that, Mark Henry and Big Show had a sloppy slop fest in 6 minutes. Yes.
Yeah.
Christian versus Randy Orton for the world title.
One of the most underrated feuds of all time.
Yes, but I hate this match in the feud. Christian wins the world title off of a dick kick. Getting kicked in the dick.
Oh, so he's Nakamura. With the leg.
Yeah, right. The opposite Nakamura, yeah.
He definitely hit the switch there.
Oh, he got switched there. I hated this, and because I always felt that Christian deserved way better than he got. And this would ultimately be his last run as world champion. And
it's well deserved, though. Well deserved.
Nah.
Well, I'm saying, like, I'm not saying, like, oh, this was the timing that Christian deserved the title. I'm saying Christian at least deserved one shot at holding the world champion at any point in his career.
But it was never. But he was never treated right with it, though. They had the title runs ended up meaning nothing.
Yeah, they never do.
Well, some guys they do,
and then there's some guys that just you think, oh well, they deserve it and it should be good, and then it turns out WWE's booking just ruins it all.
Yeah, and it completely sours me, like to think that Christian never got a proper world title. I mean, you think about it, when he won the title, him and Del Rio won it after Edge retired, or he had to face Del Rio for it after Edge retired. He won the belt, and then 2 nights later, when they taped SmackDown, Randy Orton took the belt off of him. And then the next time he won it was at this pay-per-view, where he got kicked in the dick, and the speculation was that if Orton was disqualified, that he would win the title.
Or if there was poor officiating. Is that a thing?
That makes no sense.
That makes
I thought the whole point of referees in wrestling was that they're poor officials.
Oh,
they don't know what they're doing. Isn't that why like Triple H would bully them around all the time?
Or if I go to an indie wrestling event, I'm always asking the referee when they... no, this is funny. This is a quick story real quick. Every time I go to an independent show, I know everybody backstage. I know the promoters, and I know the referees. So every time the referee gets in the ring, his name's Doug Rafferty. That's a shout out to him, so I'm going to message him later and tell him I actually threw his name out there. I always ask him if he's blind before anything happens.
Yeah.
I literally
That's awesome.
I literally pulled off my glasses and said, "Do you need to use these during this match?"
Is it just one referee for the promotion?
No, they sometimes have two, but then there's sometimes Doug actually does it the whole show by himself.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He must just be soaked after.
Oh, he's a really good referee. He's, in my opinion, one of the most underrated guys in the company. I mean, you don't see referees blade, but he has bladed before.
Oh my god. Yeah, unless you're, Tim White?
Yeah, unless you're Tim White.
I'll tell you, you know what's funny? I was there for that when, do you remember when he committed... This is horrible, but you remember when he did the suicide thing?
Yeah, because he was involved in that one Hell in a Cell match.
I was there at the Armageddon pay-per-view that he did that.
Oh, remember when he was in the bar and he had the gun and...
That was the one. I was there, bro.
Yeah, oh, crap.
It's Rhode Island. I just remember it was like, and what? I didn't understand what was going on. I knew what he did, but I was like, why? So that's supposed to be...
I didn't understand it. It was weird at the time, but hey, I guess you want to put over a referee, you put over a referee.
Yeah, no, and then they literally, I remember after they did a monthly segment, or a weekly segment, on WWE.com, where it was Tim White getting killed somehow. I swear to God.
I'll be honest with you, a lot of people didn't like this, with Tim White doing this, but I thought at the time, when I go back and watch it, I actually thought, honestly, maybe it was one of the most underrated things WWE has ever done to make the Hell in a Cell more relevant in the sense of it, the style, and you know, you don't want to be involved in this match because your career will be shortened.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but you know what? I feel like if they just ended with him being an angry drunk, a bitter man, that would have been fine. But they had him literally take out a shotgun and then off camera blow his brains.
That's weird.
Anyways, so to finish up with Money in the Bank 2011, CM Punk beat John Cena in the main event. The match isn't necessarily bad, but Cena is, I don't know, the way I feel about Cena matches is when he busts out all these moves, it's like, oh look people, Cena can wrestle. And it's like, yeah, but he doesn't do that on a consistent basis, and his selling is generally atrocious.
I have a question for you about this match, actually. Was this match the last match we've actually seen a pile driver done at a pay-per-view?
Probably.
Because I know CM Punk and John Cena did this on Raw once as well. And Vince McMahon was furious.
Yeah, but I mean, a guy like Cena is like untouchable. You know what I mean? So like he could probably smooth it over with Vince.
And actually, I think this is the last time we've seen a pile driver, and the only reason why is because John Cena has actually told CM Punk to actually do the move.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
That would 100% have to be a Cena call. You could not have it would not go over well in the back if it was just a Punk thing. So, and the other thing too about this pay-per-view that I feel it's overrated is that it did under 200K buys, which is not a good number.
no.
And yeah, and I always felt that's overlooked because this was supposed to be one of the biggest events in the history of the company with the whole CM Punk angle, and
it ruined it for me with the promotional poster with Big Show and Hornswoggle.
Oh, it looks so. Yeah, it's so stupid. It looks terrible.
They could at least had something like CM Punk leaving to New Japan with the champion, or John Cena actually being fired on the poster.
Well, I think the DVD cover is different. I think the DVD cover is CM Punk with the belt leaving Chicago, which if you haven't seen it before, it's like, oh, well, spoiler alert.
I think the last time I've seen one of the best posters done was Backlash 2009. Was with the Randy Orton's poster.
You know what? Funny story. I was there as well, Providence, Rhode Island again. But yeah, no, I agree with you. With the trees going into his back, like it's the tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I say this is because back in 2009, we used to go to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the pay-per-views because it was free.
Yeah.
And they knew me in that place, so they always gave me the posters at the end of the show. So I actually got that poster of Randy Orton with the trees and all that, and I don't know where I put that, but I remember having it.
Yeah, it's like we have do you guys have Chunky's out there?
No.
Alright, so Chunky's is basically like a movie theater / restaurant. And basically like they have tables set up and everything, and they do special events there. So like when we go to, well, we used to all the time. We used to go to all the UFCs and all the WWE pay-per-views that they had there. Cuz like you think about it, like pay $50 to watch it at home, or pay $15 per person, and you get like for cheap food and everything. And yeah, we used to get the posters because I used to have posters and stuff. So I used to get all the posters. So I got like 3 years worth of posters that I haven't done a single thing with. Huh. So I got to figure out what to do with that. So anyways, yeah, no, I don't think Money in the Bank was the worst event, but I think looking back on it, it wasn't as besides sans the main event, it wasn't as good as people make it out to be.
I feel like when we're talking about these pay-per-views, it's not really overrated, it's more overhyped. I think it's a mixture of both at this point.
Sure.
I honestly kind of want to take off my number 2 and add this to that list, because now looking back and what you've told me, I kind of have to agree with you on this, and I never even thought about it until now.
What about Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, I can understand why people really enjoy it, but like I would say, in my opinion, like I would put TLC 2011 above it. I wouldn't say, like, people act like it's the end all be all and the last great WWE pay-per-view that was put on. It's like, it was okay. It didn't live up to expectations.
No, the only expectations that the only shocker that even happened was everybody expected Cena to win, because nobody's gonna let the champion leave and all that, and Cena's not gonna get fired. You know what I mean?
Did they though? I'd actually like to know, because I thought right away, like, CM Punk was gonna win. It was like, oh, it's obvious. Like, I know that they say that Punk was like, oh, he waited till the day of to re-sign. It's like they wouldn't put that much promotion and marketing and TV time into a guy that they were just gonna get rid of.
Yeah, agreed.
So, anyways, what was your number 2 if you were taking off? If you were putting money on the bank in there, what was your number 2 before that?
My number 2 was Breaking Point, 2009.
Yeah.
I mean, 5-minute match of Evan Bourne and Chavo. Mark Henry and MVP versus Jericho. Kofi Kingston and The Miz. We had Legacy and Generation X and the submissions count anywhere. That was a good match. That was actually not a bad match.
Yes. Did Legacy win that match?
Yes, they defeated.
Okay.
They did go over on that. Kane defeated your favorite wrestler, the Great Khali, in a Singapore Kane match in 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Christian defeated William Regal in a ECW Championship match. I Quit match between Cena and Orton, and then Punk and Undertaker. And see, this is the only thing I think was overhyped and overrated was your I Quit match with Cena and Orton. I understand it was 19 minutes and 46 seconds. I get it. I understand it. But it wasn't your main event. Your main event was CM Punk and Undertaker in a submissions match for the world title. And it was only an 8 minutes and 52 second main event. That's the reason why I think it's overrated. Because your main event should be longer, in my opinion, than any other match on the card.
100%. And also, let's not forget, it ended with a repeat of the Montreal Screwjob.
Yes.
And then, oh, we're in Montreal. It's like, alright, Vince, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. You screwed Bret Hart one time, and now every time you go to Canada, you gotta repeat the same fucking finish.
They always have to do something, at least, it seems like. That's unfortunate, though.
It's terrible.
I didn't like
I remember...
Like,
and it was it's the only one. It was the only Breaking Point WWE ever did. See, and that was the thing, is that was the time when they started these gimmick pay-per-views where, you know, every pay-per-view had a gimmick, and it was like, that's why I had Hell in a Cell on my underrated list, because I felt that after Breaking Point, it's kind of like your expectations maybe are set a little too low.
Just a little too low. I mean, on the card, I get the storylines for Breaking Point, like Cena and Orton and I Quit match. That's not bad on, because it reminds me of Cena's at his breaking point, Orton's at his breaking point. You know, the I Quit match, that is a breaking point in the feud.
Yeah, but then they literally did 3 breaking. I mean, if you look at that, they did 3 feud enders in a row, where it was the I Quit match, then it was Hell in a Cell, and then it was the 60-minute Iron Man match, all within a month span. I mean, good on those guys for being in such physical matches, but it's kind of like they did 3 straight feud enders.
Yeah, and that's one thing is sometimes little is the right amount, and too much is just terrible.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's basically what it is. It's too much is not gonna help anything. Less is better.
I agree. Alright.
I'm curious to hear your number 1, and I know you're gonna agree. My number 1 is not overrated pay-per-view. It's the worst pay-per-view of all time. So
I can't wait to hear it.
But I'm gonna let you go first, though.
My number 1 most overrated. It may have had different letters to it, but it was still a WWE production. ECW One Night Stand 2005.
Wow. Okay, I'm curious now.
The reason I say it's overrated is because I don't like any match on this card. Most of them are not that good, and people overhype the show as oh, this was ECW, got the revival, got the talk back. Well, this is such a WWE. You can tell WWE's fingerprints are all over the show. Do you know what I mean? Because they had the quote unquote invasion where JBL and Eric Bischoff and Edge and all the guys from Raw and SmackDown, all the heels, went to ECW and sat in the balcony, and then they had that at the end. Overall, I mean, there's even a commentary track out there where JBL does commentary over all the matches and just shits on every single one of them. Overall, I feel like this pay-per-view is way overhyped. In retrospect, it's just not as good as they make it.
It is overhyped. It's overrated big time. The only match on the card that was even decent was Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit.
100%. And that's the funny thing is, Rey Mysterio and Psychosis were on the card. Their match wasn't that good. I mean, it was very quick, and especially after they feuded for years, ECW.
Oh,
they 5-star matches, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. And the other match to start the night off was actually not bad either. Lance Storm and Chris Jericho.
It wasn't terrible, but the finish didn't really make a lot of sense.
No, yeah, I agree on that one. The Dudleys and Tommy Dreamer and Sandman, that was alright. It was good, but it wasn't,
Do you remember how it ended?
I don't even, see, that's why it's so overrated, because I don't even remember that ending.
Sandman, he was like holding Tommy Dreamer, holding his head up, and he's like, I need help, or whatever, blah, 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 like, somebody give me a beer, and then Stone Cold comes out. I remember. Yeah, and then they had the big brawl at the end where it was all the KBL beat shit out of Meanie, and then they all celebrated with a beer in the ring, and it didn't feel like a genuine ECW show.
No, and half the matches were 7-minute matches, and there was 2,500 people in attendance, which I understand because of the location, but
yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't authentic. I didn't feel like the matches were that good.
I actually agree with you on that. It's not on my list of the top 5, but it would be on that list of like top 10.
But the thing the thing that kills me about it is this is the show that made Vince go, oh, we need ECW as a third brand. Like, this really isn't that show. You know what I mean? This isn't really like, I don't really look at this and go, yeah, what we needed to see was more of this. And even then, we didn't get anything remotely close to this with ECW. It ended up just becoming a developmental.
Yep, it did. ECW was the at that time what you said. It was. It was supposed to be NXT of this era, but it wasn't.
Right.
It was worse.
Logan, I'm interested.
Another pay-per-view that was I think your mic was going in and out there. You might want to unplug it and plug it back in.
Gotcha. Logan?
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, so my number 2 was Breaking Point, which was the only time they did this pay-per-view. Number 1 is another pay-per-view that was only a one-time deal, one-time thing that ever happened, with fake Obama. It was Capital Punishment.
I was going to bring this up when we were talking about posters.
Yep. It was not overrated pay-per-view. It was the worst pay-per-view ever.
The worst.
Well, it was on the list. It's on the list of one of the worst pay-per-views ever.
I feel you. Alright, go through it.
And, see, just thinking about it, it's just... Oh. Can we even say it was good?
I appreciated R-Truth's heel run at the time, but it really led to nowhere, so, yeah.
That was the main event of the night, was John Cena and R-Truth the champion. R-Truth was starting to get, you know, a good, decent gimmick at the time, but the only thing is it was terrible. The poster was terrible.
Poster was borderline racist.
Very racist. It had Mexican, it had a black person, and a white person. That's where we was at that time.
It had a Mexican, a black person, and a white guy who used to pretend to be black.
Oh, jeez. But I can't do it. I can't do this. That was good. We had Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov defeating Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel to start the night off. That match was so bad, the time on here says unknown. Let that sink in. Dolph Ziggler defeated... Even
the people that were recording the times for the dark matches were like, you know what, fuck this.
And it wasn't even a... It was a dark match, okay.
It was.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, but that was unknown. Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston, I can say, was probably one of the most underrated feuds. Well, I wouldn't say feuds, but chemistry together. I think those two were pretty decent together in any match that they were involved in with together. I think those two together was underrated when they had a match.
Yeah, both great workers.
Alex Riley defeated The Miz. It actually made Alex Riley relevant at the time, and it was one of the my favorite times to see Alex Riley just destroy The Miz and just get that more of a ruthless aggression, if you would say, in Alex Riley. We had Alberto Del Rio defeating Big Show in 4 minutes.
Yeah, why? Why did this happen?
Big Show was... No. Ezekiel Jackson defeated Wade Barrett by submission for the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh my god. Big Zeke, I forgot about that.
We had CM Punk and Rey Mysterio. I think, again, going back and saying Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston, CM Punk and Rey Mysterio, one of the most underrated feuds and one of the most underrated matches of all time at any time that they wrestled.
100%.
Randy Orton, Christian. This is Orton defeating Christian in 14 minutes for the world title. Evan Bourne defeated Jack Swagger in 7 minutes. And R-Truth lasted 14 minutes and 45 seconds against John Cena.
Yeah, this seems like I don't remember most of it other than like the Riley and Miz thing, but yeah, this seems like it was a terrible show.
It had 170,000 buys.
Yeah, that's not even remotely good.
And it was only up from the 143 buys that Fatal 4-Way received the previous year. In 2012, this pay-per-view was replaced by the returning No Way Out, and in 2013 with Payback. So let that sink in that Capital Punishment was literally replaced twice after that.
So basically, June is not a good time for the WWE.
No, because they went from Fatal 4-Way, Capital Punishment, No Way Out, and now Payback. Oh.
Terrible.
I didn't mind Fatal 4-Way pay-per-views. The only thing is obviously we were going to get a lot of Fatal 4-Ways. But at that time, we didn't really get Fatal 4-Ways at all, really. It was more singles matches. So it was a little refreshing to see the Fatal 4-Way come back around that time, too.
Yeah.
But it was... You never make it a gimmick. Never make it a gimmick pay-per-view.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I would rather them not make any of these pay-per-views gimmick pay-per-views. That way it's like, oh shit, like, I can't believe there's going to be a tables match at the next pay-per-view. But meanwhile, it's like, oh, it's October? Oh, hey, we're going to have tables, ladders, and chairs, obviously.
Agreed. I agree with you. But that's the reason why I thought it was the worst pay-per-view.
I'll tell you, not too far off from that in theme, I thought I think the Great American Bash 2004 is the worst pay-per-view of all time. That was the one where Undertaker buried Paul Bearer in cement. Go take a look back at that sometime. Terrible show.
I'm gonna do that, literally.
But Logan, what's next? What are we looking to do?
Well, I guess we can go ahead and look at
Underrated?
Yeah, underrated. We set our 5th, right? Both of us did.
Yep, I went all 5 for those. Okay. Well, yep, I went with Hell in a Cell 2009. I already got that out of the way.
And I agreed with you on that, too.
Yep. My number 4 is Survivor Series 2001. It was the end of the WWF versus the Alliance storyline. The reason I have it as underrated is because, once again, it closed out a lot of stories, especially the ending with the control for the WWF. They had the 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't think anything stood out besides the main event, other than maybe Edge versus Test, but every match was really solid, and it kind of showed at the time that, like, WWF, it really feels like the last time that the company cared about their mid-card.
Yep. It is.
So, and once again, the Alliance versus WWF storyline is god-awful, but I think as closure, and with Kurt Angle coming out at the end to save, technically save the company, hits Austin, Rock covers him, Vince McMahon retains control of the company, and just the last shot of the pay-per-view is really ingrained, where Vince McMahon comes out on the stage and is waving his fist around in the air, and The Rock kind of just like looks at him. It's kind of like The Rock is happy in his victory, but he knows he's still got to work for this egomaniac now.
Yep, I do remember that.
So, yep, that's my number 4. What about yourself?
My number 4 was actually... See, in this... I have a mixed feeling on this pay-per-view, but I also thought it was a little underrated. The only match that I didn't like was Legion of Doom, Animal and Heidenreich versus Eminem, but it was American Bash 2005.
Really? 2005?
Yeah.
Why do you feel this pay-per-view is underrated?
Because Muhammad Hassan was starting to get over a lot. The only thing is he got defeated by The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. The worst match on the card was the Mexicans versus BWL.
the Blue Meanie and them. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero was on the card. That's never a bad thing. Of course, bra and panties matches are also awesome. And then JBL defeated Batista in a singles match for the WWE, well, the World Heavyweight title.
Yeah, that was by DQ because JBL, like Orlando Jordan, came out to interfere, and basically JBL was using every dirty trick in the book to try and beat Batista. And then as soon as Batista uses, I forget, it might have been a steel chair. As soon as Batista did something bad, disqualified.
Yeah. Yep. See. That's basically, I mean, it started the feud off with JBL and The Undertaker. The Legion of Doom was resurrected with Heidenreich. I mean, that was terrible. But hey, I mean, we're looking at, there's always matches that you don't like on a pay-per-view, and then there's great matches on pay-per-view. So you're gonna pick a pay-per-view no matter what that's a mixture of both. So
the thing is I don't think that Great American Bash 2005 it won worst show of the year, I believe. But the thing is I don't think it was necessarily. It was solid. It was what it was. It was, for me, it was kind of just a B grade pay-per-view. It was okay. Nothing like terrible happened.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. What is your number 4?
3. Number 3. My number 3 is Judgment Day 2000. Once again, solid card. There was a submissions match for Chris Benoit with Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho for the IC belt. Great match. As always, once again, guys, talking about guys with chemistry. Jericho and Benoit always had it. Once again, just mid-card was great. Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn had a solid match. And the main event, which was a 60-minute Iron Man match between Rock and Triple H, was really good. And the finish was incredible, where the Undertaker came back, made his return after a while, and it was 5-5, and Taker attacked Triple H, ultimately giving him the victory as time was running out. So basically, as the hour limit was running out, Taker attacked Triple H. The referee disqualified The Rock. Triple H won the world title.
I can't believe we agreed, and that this is on my list as well, but it's at number 2.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and the thing is, you don't get finishes like that anymore on pay-per-views. You know, you don't get like holy shit surprise returns like that.
We haven't had that in so long, too.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that we can't get finishes like that anymore. Because they just don't know how to book them. They don't know how to, like, I mean, I get it. Social media. I get it. Internet. I get it. I understand. The return's going to get spoiled way beforehand. I get it. Well, unless you're Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it doesn't have to, though. That's the thing. I mean, they that's what I'm saying, is they find ways to protect certain things, but for some reason it's like the reality is like, you know, especially a guy coming back after injury. I mean, if Ambrose interfered in a pay-per-view main event, you could throw him back in a world title picture if he affected a major outcome.
Because he would be over.
Yeah, and he would have that credibility. He would have that, you know, oh, he interjected himself into this match, so now he's basically tangled up with these guys. And I'm not saying that it should just, you know, Dean Ambrose specifically should do that, but they you know.
Where's the shock factor?
Yeah. Anyways, what's your number 3, Logan?
My number 3 was actually Royal Rumble 2006. I actually thought Rey Mysterio's Royal Rumble win, even though it was the year we lost Eddie Guerrero. It was underrated because it wasn't the main event, wasn't the main focus. The main focus was the main event, which was Kurt Angle and Mark Henry. This was the time where Kurt Angle was starting to be that veteran, and he was starting to like get over as a badass, in my opinion. And Mark Henry was starting to also get a little bit of a decent push and a decent everything as a monster heel. So I thought it was underrated, the pay-per-view itself.
I can feel you on that. I think that was a good Royal Rumble. I mean, I think, yeah, like, once again, my problem with Royal Rumble 2000 was you didn't know who was going to win. But at least at, like, Royal Rumble 06, you kind of felt like, alright, it's going to be between Rey Mysterio, Triple H, Randy, or RVD, who was returning at the time. Yeah, Edge versus Cena was on that card. I think that they kind of ruined it by giving Cena the belt back after only a month, less than a month, actually, of Edge being champion in his first run, but Edge turned out okay, so not really much to complain about there. And then, yeah, it's kind of funny that we were just talking about Undertaker making a big impact returning at the end of a pay-per-view, and Royal Rumble was also on your list, where he returns at the end.
Yep. I agree with you on that. Yep. See, this is why I like doing these lists, because there is shock factor that we throw at each other and all that, and sometimes our shock factors are better than their shock factors on WWE.
I know, right?
So, I'm curious to know your number 2, though, since you know my number 2 already.
Alright, my number 2. Bear with me. My number 2 is Vengeance 2005. Which is also funny because that was actually the same month as Great American Bash 2005. The reason I have this as underrated is because this felt like a major pay-per-view on a B pay-per-view. What I mean by that is the pacing was great. Like, the matches went as long as they should. I mean, you had 3 main events with Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle rematching from WrestleMania 21. Shawn goes over Kurt. John Cena had just gotten drafted to Raw. He ended up in a feud with Chris Jericho and Christian for the world title, or the WWE title at the time. And this to me was like, oh man, thank God that they're giving Chris Jericho and Christian something to do that's above IC championship level. Cena goes over with that. And then Batista and Triple H, they culminated their long feud in a Hell in a Cell match. And this was one of the last times I really felt like, because I don't believe that they've wrestled each other since then. Maybe together they've wrestled, but this was really the culmination of the feud, and especially at the time, Triple H put Batista over 3 straight times, no problem, which was rare as hell. I mean, that never happens. What, before that, he put Shelton Benjamin over twice?
Yeah.
So, overall, I really felt this was a really good show. Kane and Edge had a match. That was when Lita left Kane. This was before the Matt Hardy and Edge feud that they had. Victoria defeated Christy Hemme. That was like a jealousy feud. And Carlito got a dirty, cheap win over Shelton Benjamin for the IC belt. So overall, well-paced show. This to me was like, especially even as when I was younger, this was like a show that I would watch over and over again, because I really felt like this was like this is worth watching. Just a well-paced show.
You have a wrestling mind. You know your pay-per-views. You know how to pick them too.
Yeah, I know, it's disgusting. This is the shit I think about while everybody else is at work.
That's so true. Hammers Productions in the chat. He says, hello. Welcome, sir.
Shalom, Hammers Productions.
I get your point on that. There are some underrated feuds and matches in there. Carly, I know it's not the pay-per-view we're talking about, but I can't remember what pay-per-view this was. But I remember it, unless it was on a Raw, it was Carlito, Morrison, and Benjamin in a triple threat for the IC title.
That was Vengeance 06.
That was really good.
That was great. Vengeance 06 is another great pay-per-view. That was the return of DX when they took on the Spirit Squad.
Yeah, I just saw that on YouTube. A lot of people were talking about it.
Did you see that Kenny Dykstra or Kenny Doan or whatever his name is now? That they're doing the Spirit World Order.
No, I did not.
Yeah, they're doing like the NWO shirts, but it's green. And it's got SWO on the front.
Huh.
Pretty funny. I like it.
Did you hear about Matt from Tough Enough passing away last night?
Yeah, I heard about that late last night.
And
so sad.
Now there's rumors that he could be the Ultimate Warrior Award recipient at the next WrestleMania.
That's still so far away, though. We'll see. I mean, I think that they should, make mention of it at least. But
I mean, he was involved with WWE, so.
Yeah, man. I mean, he was fighting for years too, right? I mean, it kept coming. He kept beating him, and it kept coming back.
Yep, and he's been dealing with this issue for like 2 years now. He was dealing with it for 2 years with the brain as well. He had brain surgery last year, and we've dealt with it for a year. And unfortunately, if I would have known that, I would have if I would have remembered this morning. But I was trying to focus on getting everything. I would have put his rest in peace on the image. Oh crap!
Yeah, did you know? Yeah.
I would have done that this morning.
Now you think Al Snow would do the induction if they do that?
I think so.
I think you have. Yeah, I think you have to.
You
know who it wouldn't be? It wouldn't be Hardcore Holly.
Oh jeez.
Rest in peace, Matt Capitelli.
Yes, definitely rest in peace.
So now, what was your number 2? Was it, you said it was Judgment Day?
Yes.
2000? Okay.
Yes.
Alright. Do you have anything to say about that?
I agreed with everything you said.
Yeah, we went over the surprise endings.
Yes, it was definitely not overrated pay-per-view. It was an underrated pay-per-view that a lot of people don't really talk about. So it's something that I'm kind of curious to see what anybody else would say about it, actually.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things where it's like when you go back, you realize, man, like the quote-unquote B pay-per-views, I mean, a lot of them really. See, the thing is, I can't stand the Attitude Era, but like post 2000, I really think that like during that 2000, 2001, 2002 time, they really put a focus on the mid card, and their finishes to the pay-per-views always meant something.
Huh.
You disagree?
No, I don't, actually.
Alright. Well, we'll wrap this up with our number ones. How's that sound?
Yes.
Alright. So, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. But first, I do want to announce that Jeff Hardy is injured again. Breaking news.
Jesus.
He is dealing with numbness in his fingers, and he has a nerve injury somewhere, so that's not good.
So that US belt's probably gonna be vacated.
So that's not good. That's never good.
No, especially not after.
He has a pinched nerve and also a leg injury. He was not using the Swanton Bomb at live events, and now he is. Well, he did it on SmackDown. So I guess he's trying to not do too many big high spots. So that's
it for Jeff Hardy.
I wouldn't say it's it. This is what happens to Jeff Hardy when he goes full time. No matter where he goes, is he has to slow down a little bit, and he doesn't. He tries to go full throttle.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, I mean, with with the putting the face paint back on and everything, I think it's the worst timing for him to be getting hurt like that, because he as much as I love Matt, I mean, Jeff's always going to be the bigger star. And he could have a good, merch run.
See, I actually agree with you on that. Oh, wow.
Anyways, what is your number one pay-per-view?
It might shock you. So hopefully you're sitting down. Cyber Sunday 2006.
Yeah, I'm speechless. What? Why?
It was the very first, and it's not talked about a lot, but it's Booker T, Big Show, John Cena main event, triple threat with all three of the top ECW, World, and WWE champions on the card. We had Ric Flair and Roddy Piper defeating the Spirit Squad for the tag team titles. I know, but
yeah, and then I think it was a month later or whatever. Piper was having stomach issues. I think it might have been something cancerous, and yeah, they had to drop the belts. They did a thing where they, I think it was RKO. They took him out before the match. But yeah, no, I remember that.
Oh, and rated RKO versus D-Generation X with Eric Bischoff as special guest referee. Jeff Hardy and Carlito for the IC title. That obviously wasn't a bad match at all. The only matches that were terrible was the dark match with Super Crazy defeating Rob Conway, and the Crime Time Texas Tornado match with the Highlanders, Charlie Haas of Viscera, and then Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. And that Texas Tornado match was literally a 4-minute match with 4 teams.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not terrible.
Umaga and Kane in a singles match. I think it's an underrated card. If you look at it, you have Lita defeating Mickie James in a Lumberjill match for the WWE Women's title. The card doesn't look terrible. And besides the tag team match, that's the only match that's on the main card that was actually terrible. And I don't think it's talked about that much, so I think it's underrated.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a bad pay-per-view at all.
And this was King Booker. That was one of the most underrated gimmicks. The only time a King actually, you could say that the King of the Ring gimmick actually worked for somebody. It didn't work for Sheamus. I mean, it worked for Booker T. So yeah, I think it is the last time, because I mean, Wade Barrett won it. Like you said, King Sheamus. I mean, it literally, Booker T was becoming a pretty stagnant heel with just his wife interfering all the time, and the King Booker thing. Because I remember I was at a few shows, and when they did that All Hail King Booker, I wanted somebody to shoot him. I could not stand that. 10 straight minutes of All Hail King Booker. It's like, Jesus Christ. Well, that's definitely a way to get the heel.
Oh yeah.
Definitely one way.
No, it was good. It was good for what it was. But you know what's funny? I'll tell you a funny story. I remember as a kid, I was a John Cena fan when I was younger, and I remember, but even then I was like, I don't want to brag, but I was voting for his belt to be on the line, because I was like, well, they're not gonna have any of the champions lose. You know what I mean? They're not gonna have whoever, because I remember the stipulation was one of their belts is gonna be on the line, and I was voting the hell out of John Cena, because I was like, I really want John Cena to win this match, but I knew as soon as I saw that it was King Booker had the highest percentage, it was like, oh god, they're gonna have King Booker win.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, that shows you, once again, like you were saying, that shows you the heel heat that he had. People were like, get that fucking title off of him.
Yep, that. Oh, and I think Orton hit Triple H with an RKO on a steel chair for the win, for the rated RKO. So look at that. I think that was one of the most underrated feuds of all time, because Orton and Edge together, rated RKO, was not a bad gimmick together.
No, it wasn't.
It definitely wasn't. And
unfortunately, the whole thing was cut short when Triple H got hurt a few months later. But yeah, no, that was a really good feud. And the thing was, it went for because the thing is, Triple H and Shawn Michaels during that whole run early on were being goofy, and it was like they were kind of unstoppable, and it was like RKO kind of breathed back in that serious competition back into them.
It did. It did. It did do that. And I'm actually... I know it shocked you that I picked this pay-per-view.
It's just, no, it's an interesting choice. I just wouldn't have expected it. Especially, like, coming from, like, a B pay-per-view, like, I was thinking maybe, like, oh, SummerSlam 2002 or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, see, I wanted to try to think outside the box instead of the top main four or whatever,
Yeah, that's what I did too. That's why I avoided WrestleMania and mostly tried to avoid, like, SummerSlams and Survivor Series. Because the thing is, like, I feel like I could put those, if I was to make, like, a best, like, my favorite pay-per-views, like SummerSlam 02 is a pretty good show. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but that's easy.
And I may have picked, Royal Rumble 2006 and had that on the list, but hey, that's...
No, that was, yeah, I completely understand your reasoning for it. The other thing, too, is, like, I wish, like, Cyber Sunday would come back as a concept if they're going to do these gimmick matches, if they're going to do these gimmick pay-per-views. I enjoyed, the voting process.
I agree with you on that one. I know Cyber Sunday actually wasn't, it wasn't fully fan voting. WWE definitely manipulated that voting.
Yeah. See, I think so, but the other thing, too, is, like, when they started making people pay for text messaging, that you could send in via text message, but it was, like, 99 cents a text. It's like, you can't screw the fans and not actually take, poll results with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
when you voted on WWE.com, yeah, they manipulated that to hell.
Oh, 100%. But when people were paying for it, I hope that they weren't screwing around with it. But once again, you know what? This company's probably not above doing that. They're probably like, they paid for it. Yeah. Like, that they'll eat the shit that we feed them.
Exactly. I agree with you on that one. Now, to end the show, because actually perfect timing, we're at 1 hour and 48 minutes, but what is your number one most underrated pay-per-view of all time there, OJ?
Number one most underrated pay-per-view of all time. This is the show that I don't think anybody talks about enough. And to me, it was better than the WrestleMania the month prior. Extreme Rules 2012.
Wow. I'm curious.
In my opinion, it's an incredible show. My opinion, for me, it has John Cena's best match ever. The main event was John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. And Jesus Christ, John Cena took a beating.
He always does against Lesnar.
Now, here's what I'll say. So I'll start from the bottom. So Randy Orton defeated Kane in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Good match. Both guys are good worker. Honestly, better than the WrestleMania match they had the month prior. Bronze Clay defeated Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, it is what it is. Once again, one of those things with, you're never gonna have all the best matches.
No.
Cody Rhodes defeated Big Show in a tables match. It's okay. Sheamus defeated Daniel Bryan 2-1, 2 out of 3 falls match. Great match. This was during the time, though, that people were hating on Sheamus after he beat Daniel Bryan, but
And what,
they
10
wanted,
seconds?
yeah. But this was like the deserve, like this was like what they deserved. They deserved to go 25 minutes. Good match. Ryback defeated two jobbers. Hey, you know what? During the time I was getting interested in seeing this guy. I thought it was
Even against jobbers.
I thought it was a cool I thought it was a cool gimmick at the time. I knew what they were trying to do, trying to create a Goldberg type character, but it was it's good build. It doesn't matter to me about that. They were trying to build up a character. It was good. CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Chicago Street Fight, incredible match. Once again, chemistry. Those two guys never put on a bad match.
Nope, never.
And the storyline was so heated at the time. With Jericho talking about Punk's alcoholic father and the whole oh, CM Punk might be drunk, and then it's like nope, no he's not. He's still straight edge. And this was during CM Punk's long reign as champion. Excellent match, excellent feud. Layla defeated Nikki Bella, whatever. But John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. So the night after WrestleMania, after The Rock beat John Cena, Cena was out there cutting his promo, talking about it, and then Lesnar came out, went to shake Cena's hand. Cena stuck his hand out. Lesnar gives him the F5. And then for weeks and weeks, they were building this match with Lesnar doing segments where he was talking about how he was going to beat the shit out of John Cena. And one line I will never forget is, I'm not worried about what's running through John Cena's mind. I'm worried about what's running down his leg. Basically saying he's pissed himself.
Yeah. He was getting his ass beat.
And then this match, for all the criticisms I have of John Cena, this match he sold the hell out of for Brock Lesnar. And it may be because Brock legitimately injured him, but it was very physical, there was blood, and I give all credit to Cena for being willing to be the first guy to work with Brock Lesnar after Lesnar hadn't wrestled in, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty big, man. Like, it's not, I mean, maybe Lesnar was working out the kinks outside the ring, kind of getting back into the groove, but there's a lot of room for error when you're not doing it for so long.
Yeah. And Brock Lesnar had the transition from actually punching somebody in the face to actually not punching somebody in the face. But hey, I think he did that.
But even then, he barely did that. I mean, he busted Cena open with some elbows in this match.
And I think Cena wanted that. He wanted to make...
Oh, 100%. He definitely wanted a physical match. And once again, it's a thing of, all credit due to the fact that he was willing to work with Lesnar. And yeah, Cena went over, but, I mean, I don't think they should...
Lesnar.
No, definitely not. And then afterwards, Cena got on the mic and basically said, look, I might be out for a while, which he wasn't, but he thought he might have been injured. And he basically said, because they were in Chicago, that he thanked the fans, because he knew that it's a CM Punk town, but, basically talked about their passion and how much he loved wrestling for them.
Yeah.
And that to me was, that's how you got to pay per view. Basically thanking the fans for their support.
Well, yeah, there's ways of doing that, and then there's way of Nia Jax.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into that.
No.
No, I do agree with you. This is probably one of the most underrated pay-per-views of all time because of the fact that, I mean, everybody, it was definitely hyped, and it wasn't overhyped at all.
No.
Brock Lesnar and John Cena came out, did their thing. That was the first time we've seen blood in forever, so this worked. This pay-per-view was decent. I give props to Lesnar from transitioning from WWE to UFC back to WWE, and in his very first match, he put on a hell of a show for the crowd.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Close to 20-minute match. He, there was a few times where he took some lumps himself from Cena. So.
See, everybody criticizes Lesnar because he's not on TV, but if you actually knew about Lesnar's passion for WWE, he has passion like crazy because he's the one that brought Goldberg back for WrestleMania, for Survivor Series and all that. He's the reason why Brock Lesnar had this vision of what he wanted to do in WWE, and he's accomplished that. Yeah, I get it, contracts and all that. It didn't help, but hey, it happens.
Yeah, well, I think Lesnar is he's 100%. I think he's more business minded than anything. And the thing is my argument. Well, Lesnar's not on TV. Well, he also, he's kind of earned that. I mean, now it's kind of egregious, but I feel like he earned it in a sense. He wrestled for years. He's a legitimate guy. We don't need to see him on TV, pinning Xavier Woods or whatever every week.
No. Never.
No.
But I agree with you on that. Big time. I never even thought about it, but I see your point, and if I had to go back, I would probably put this match and this pay-per-view on that list.
Well, I appreciate it, Logan. I appreciate you having me on today, and I look forward to hearing some Saturday Night Myers.
Yes, tonight we will be back, hopefully. It will be a later show because I am going to wrestling tonight, but old school $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and yes, I will be adding Ric Flair. I didn't add it to the tweet, but we will be talking some Ric Flair and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase right here. Well, not right here, but on Grapple Vision. So look out for that tonight as well. And on next week on Thursday, we will be talking the Invasion and the WCW buyout. So look out for those two things, and maybe we will be having some Next Level on Wednesday.
Ooh.
If Travis can't come back, maybe OJ can step in.
Ooh. I'll have to watch some NXT if that's the case.
Even if Travis is there, you can come on. How about
nice. That sounds awesome. Would love to talk with Travis too.
Yeah, I'll have to message him and see what his schedule is. They've been calling him in, it seems like, on his days off, so
yeah, it's how it usually works out.
Yeah.
Never have a good day off.
Yeah, never do. And for everybody else, you guys saw on the images that are popping up on your screen on the channel, I did add that. Did you know OJ sleeps 12 hours a day on his days off?
Yeah, not today, but not today. No, I turned my phone off.
Yeah, okay.
They can't get to me.
Yeah, and Drew Gulak signed his Gatorade bottle, so look at that.
Yes.
Yep, and of course I used to wrestle on the trampoline. Did you know? And did you know I'm a Jets fan? Well, I think everyone knows that by now.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
I hate you.
You know what? This is it. I'm buying out of my contract. This is my last show.
Of course. What team are you? What team is yours, OJ?
I have two. The New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns.
I'm buying out of my contract now.
Hey, come on! I got a counterbalance. I got the best team and the worst team. All right.
Well, Browns is actually, I think, if you look at their record, yeah, they're terrible. But if you look at the talent that's on that team now, underrated. Like heck.
Yeah, but they don't have the coaching.
No, they don't. No.
And in football, it's 100% about coaching. I mean, Bill Belichick takes. I mean, Bill Belichick literally takes chicken shit and turns it into chicken salad.
Well, speaking of NFL, my NFL show will be coming on here Tuesday morning, so look out for that.
Oh man, you got a full schedule going now, don't you?
Yes, I'm trying to get back into it since I took 2 weeks off, and looks like I'm gonna kill myself. But you guys can check OJ out. Where can they check you out there, OJ?
You can check me out at OJ the Juice on Twitter. It's capital O, capital J, lowercase d, lowercase a, and then Juice, uppercase J, EWCE.
Thank you, OJ, for that, and thank you for coming on and being my co-host for this show. We will be announcing the next day we do it, and we might not be talking wrestling. We might be talking wrestling. We might actually do something different. We always want to change it up on the morning, OJ, you know. Never know. But look out for everything coming to Future Wrestling Podcast and Grapple Vision. And don't forget, pay-per-views now is on Grapple Vision as well. Thank you, Tonka. Thank you, Vamp, for everything you guys are giving us the opportunities to do. And you guys can also check me out on Twitter at LoganMyers144 and check out Hibiki TMD. And yes, that is a shout out to Travis. Check him out on Twitter. Go tweet at him right now. Tell him you're going to subscribe to his channel. He is at Hibiki TMD. Look out for that. And also look out for the new episode of Hibiki Pro with me and Travis. And I know OJ checked that out. I know he did. I already know he did.
Of course.
Did you like that episode, sir?
Of course I did. It's 100% approved by OJ.
I know. Our storylines are just badass. I think every
How are you doing, by the way? Are you okay after that vicious attack?
Oh man, I'm still in the ICU doing a podcast.
No wonder why OBS wasn't working this morning.
Exactly. But again, you guys can check us out on Twitter and follow us and follow everything we're going to be doing in the future. From OJ and Logan, thank you guys in the chat and on everybody that's listening and everybody that will listen. Have a great morning and the rest of your day, and have a great weekend.
Evening, bitches.
Oh, I like that ending. I should have just ended it there. Good day, everybody.